All right, welcome again, everyone. So our last video was about how to connect the database, and we connected the DB. Now we can use that database. Now, to be able to use it, I need to set up few stuff. First of all, I need to set up the models. If you remember when we talked about the videos, MVC, uh, MVC. If you don't remember, you can go to the MVC architecture and you can watch this video again. Because in this video, we talked about what's MVC, and the MVC, the word, the letter M is the model. And the model is what are the data that we need to use when we gonna save data in our database. For example, in my database, I will create list of users. I need to create, I need, for example, user to register or sign up in my project. And in that case, I need to have a table for all users. So I go here with user model.js. Now I created a file for user model inside the model folder. And now I need to create my scheme. First of all, get the Mongoose from the package Mongoose. Now I connected the package. What I should do, I should create a new schema. So const user schema equal to new from the Mongoose that we got. I want to create a new schema. It's a function. Inside the function, we need to get an object. Inside this object, I will create what are the data that we need to expect inside the schema. For example, I will have username. Each user should write a username. The type of this one is a string. Is it required for our database? Right now, I will make it false. If I make it true, it will give me it will be a required data. If you didn't have it, then it will give you an error. And then after the username, I will need an email. The email is the same, it has a type of string. And is it required? Like we can make it true. Like the email is very important. It's required. You cannot make an account without an email. So here we have a username, email. Now we need to have a password, of course, because when you want to sign up, you should also have a password. The type of the password is also string. Is it required? Of course, it's required. Without the password, you cannot make a new account. Now, this is the data that you are expecting. Of course, you can add more as much as you want, but for now, these are enough. Or you know what? I will leave the password for a specific video related to how you sign up. Right now, I just wanted to show you how to add user to database. So we will not go through a real sign up process. Just want to add user to my database. And also, if we check our last project together here, localhost, you will see we did a project where we had list of users, and now we just want to be able to add new users. If you go to our controller, you will see here we have the list of the user, and now we just want to be able to add more users. So I will just add the username and the email. Now I need to, as always, export it, because if you didn't export, it will not be able to work. What should I export exactly? I need to export a model from the Mongoose. So module.exports, which means please export these files so I can use it in another file. And what I will export a model from the Mongoose. What the model is, we can call it user. And what schema is the scheme, user scheme. So the user here, this is just the name of the data. And what is the data? The data is this schema, which is basically this schema. So the whole schema here is this one. And now we call it user. We export it in the model. Now, the model should be done. From my end, it should be done now. What I need to do, I need to go to the home page where I have the list of users that I fetched them, and I need to create an input with a type text. We can add a placeholder username, and we're gonna add another input with this type email and placeholder is email. And then I will have a button. This button add user. Now, save. Let's check our page. If we refresh, we can see here we have our nice input. Of course, it's not really nice, but we have here um, our form that we need to use to be able to add users. I will go first of all to the public, and here I will do something like this one has a class of add user form. And for add user form in our CSS, I will do like margin bottom 100 pixels with a border bottom 1 pixels, salt black, maybe like 5 pixels. Okay, and I will do padding bottom like 50 pixels. This is our form. Let's make this one also 50. The one which is too big. And now we will use this form, add user. We should see here the new user has been added. Now, what we need to do? First of all, I need to put all this information inside a form. I need to put them inside a form. This form, it will has an action and the method. The method is post. Now, the action method is post because I'm going to send a post request. When I click the button, I will send a post request. Now, the action is what is the route that you need to go when you click that button. For me, the route will be something like slash add new user, for example. Now, do we have this route in our routes, add a new user? Let's check our routes. No, we don't. So what we do, we create this route. Now we go with route. Is it a GET request? No, it's a POST request because here you can see the method is POST. No POST request. What's the route? The route is slash add new user that we just write it here. Okay, now what's the controller? I didn't create the controller yet, but the controller will be basically from the user controller. Dot, I'm gonna create a function, let's say add the new user. So I will create this function. Now, as you see here, I have an error because add the new user is not defined yet. So I will copy it and I will go to the user controller and I will define here what is the function add a new user. Okay, request response, arrow function. Now, all we need to do, we need to export this function. And now we don't have that error because we defined the function, we export it, and here we call it. So now it has been defined. Now, what we need to do here, first of all, as always, guys, you should always console log request.body to be sure, are you getting the body of your request or not? And the body of the request is basically the information from your form. So how we can test that? I have the form that is connected to this route, and this route is connecting to this function, and this function is just console log request.body. So if I go here, refresh, and start typing, for example, sam add test.com, whatever, add user, let's check, you can see here, and define. So we're still missing something that it should help us to be able to get the information that we write here inside our form to become inside our button. And the problem behind this undefined is inside your index.js, you need to define few stuff. First of all, I need to define that the express should has URL encoded to be able to not using the data between the front end and the back end. So I will say app.use, please use express, which is our variable here, dot URL encoded, as you see, and this one, it should has a parameter like, is it extended? And I will say in this situation, true. And I think extended true or false, this is just an optional that you can ignore later. App.use here, express.json to be able also to receive and define the data as a JSON data. Hopefully, after these two lines, we don't see undefined anymore, but we will see our data. So let's try again. We go to the home page and we start defined like testo and here testo@testo.com. Now add user. Yes, this should be an email address, so .com. Now add user. If we go to our terminal, we see an empty object, but at least we don't see undefined. We still see empty object. That's fine, I think, for now. We can debug to see what's the problem, but at least we don't see it undefined anymore. So it's defined, but it's still empty. We don't have any data. And the reason here, it might be because each input, it's missing something very, very important, which is the name. So the name of this input, it should be exactly the same name as we did in the model, username. And the name here, it should be exactly as the model, which is the email. So here we have username and email. It could be the issue. So let's try and see how it goes because of the name. Let's try, go back again to the home page. Now, sam@sam.com, add user, go back to our code. And now you can see the object here, guys, has the username Sam and the email sam@sam.com. So what that means? That means I am sure now every information I write it in my form in the browser, I can receive it in my controller. Now, what's the next step? I need to save it in the database. To save it in the database, first of all, I need to require the model of the database. So we go with const user model equal to require from the models. I need to require the user model, which is basically this file. Now, I required it. I am sure request body has the user information. So now what I can do, I can say, let a new user, I need to define the new user, and the new user, it should always be a new version from the user model. So this is the trick. This is here where the trick is. You create a new user, and the new user is always a new version from the user model that you just created here. So each time you create a new user, we make a new copy from this model, which is username and email. Now, what you need to send, I need to send the information that I received from the front end, which is also username and email. So I sent here request.body. Let's check, just console log for now, before we save it in the database. What is the information that we receive from the new user model? When we create a new user model, what is the information that we see? Do we see just username and email like here, or do we see something else? Now, let's try again, resend the same request, go back here, and now you can see we have username, email, but also we have something called ID. And from where this ID came, and this is a very important information to know. When you create a user model, or when you create a new model, for a DB, this is done, by the way. When you create a new model for this database, by default, always by default, it will create an ID to you without you mentioning it. Like my request body, the body, it was, as you see here before, it was just the username and the email. But when you create a new model from Mongoose, Mongoose by default give you an ID to your data. So now everything is good. What we need to do, we just need to save the information. So we say, okay, the new user information that we just created, please save. And after we save, then after we save, we need to console log like user has been added or whatever, or add a new user, added a new user, and .catch. If we received any error, then we also console log whatever the error is. Now let's try to send request and see what will happen. Now try again, resend the same request, and now we can see added a new user, which means the user now should be in our database. If we go and refresh this page, what we will see? Let's check together. No, I don't see anything. I see something called the browse collection. Let me see the collection or the tables, because in MongoDB they call it collection. And now you can see we have something called users, and we have Sam and sam@sam.com. Now we can create a new one, for example. New user, and now new user gmail.com, add user. Now the user should be added. Now if we go here, just refresh, we can see we have here 2 users, and the new user is a new user at gmail.com. Now, to do a quick recap, in this video, what we have done, we have created our form to register a new user. We defined the route, the action. We go to the route, we define it. What is the action? What's the controller when you call this action? And the controller, we just created a new model and we save it in the database. Now, in the page, I still see the old users that I had created here, which they all hard-coded. But in the next video, we will see how we can get the information from our database. So first, we added users to our DP. As you see here, we have 2 users, and now we will see how we can get all these users. So we will do that in the next video.